What's up, Doc? Welcome to the Docs Get Money podcast. Are you a badass doctor killing it professionally and has bigger dreams than just clocking in and out of the hospital? Do you want to leave behind a legacy that is as lit as an HBCU homecoming? Want to know how other doctors are getting to the big bag? That's right, making 5, 6, and 7 figures without putting on the white coat? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Kimberly, but you can call me Kim or KB. I went from being a burnt out and overwhelmed emergency physician to the founder and CEO of 2 6-figure non-clinical companies and beating burnout along the way. I'm also your business coach, here to help you make money moves to change the world. This podcast isn't just about making money, though. It's about leveling up your life, mindset, and bank account so you can build an empire that's as iconic as Beyonce. You ready? Let's get into it. Picture this. You're sprinting out of a building engulfed in flames. The very structure you once revered as a temple of healing now is nothing but a towering inferno of burnout and frustration. Behind you, the endless nights, the thankless shifts, and the corporate medicine structure controlling how you practice are all consumed by the blaze. Up ahead, you see nothing but freedom, clarity, purpose, income, and impact. That's where I come in. And from side hustler to CEO, my signature one-on-one business coaching program, you'll start your own fire by launching your first profitable coaching, consulting, or midterm rental business and make clinical cash in 90 days or less. That's right, 4 or 5 figures in 90 days or less. This is for the doctors who feel like every shift is a dumpster fire, unmanageable, or just out of control. Let me help you rise from the ashes, thriving, and with a business that brings you life instead of sucking it out of you. Ready? Slide into my DMs on Instagram at Dr. Kimberly B with the word out, and let's turn the burnout into the bag. What's up, Doc? Welcome back to yet another episode of the Docs Get Money podcast. I'm so excited to have you. Today, I have a sister doc with me who I actually just met for the very first time, but of course, the world being as small as it is, she knows people that I am extremely close to from way back in undergrad. She's an HBCU girl. She's a Howard girl by training as well, too. So Dr. Toya Luces-Sampson is an OBGYN. She's clearly a physician coach, and she also coaches moms. And I'll let her talk a little bit more about herself. But Dr. Toya, thank you so much for joining me on the Docs Get Money podcast. I'm excited to have you for our conversation today.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here, and thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So we've been chatting kind of behind the scenes before where I hit the record button, but go ahead. Why don't you tell the Docs Get Money podcast audience a little bit about you?
Yeah, so I am Toya Luces-Sampson, originally from Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean, and I went to Howard, the best, the one, the only HBCU that matters. No offense.
Of course, no
to my
offense, but
host.
whatever.
No offense to my host. Yes, I was in the BSMD program, so I did 2 years of undergrad, 4 years of med school, trained in Philly, and then came out to Northern California, where I've been practicing since. And through 2 episodes of professional burnout, 1 of postpartum burnout, led me to what I am doing right now, which is a coach for physician moms in the early years of motherhood, helping them thrive in medicine and motherhood without self-sacrifice. I also have a podcast myself, Stethoscopes and Strollers, so that moms can feel a lot more seen and a little less alone. And I really feel like my transition from medicine to coaching is like a second calling, and it is everything that I'm supposed to be doing at this moment, and I can't wait to share what I'm doing with you.
Yes, absolutely. You already connected with, minus the whole Howard plug. You already connected with me on so many different levels. Okay, so let's backtrack just a little bit and try to take it piece by piece. So, why medicine? What had you inspired? Why did you even become a doctor in the first place?
Yeah, I was one of those kids where I just decided yeah, I'm just going to be a doctor because that's what smart kids do. They become doctors. And I initially wanted to be a pediatrician, knowing nothing about anything. I think that was probably the only doctor that I knew. So I said that's what I wanted to be. And then it was hearing my friends talk about their bodies and sex and things like that. I was like, this is not right. I don't know myself, but I know what you're saying is not right. So I want to educate myself more about my body as a young girl because this was in high school at the time.
Hmm.
And that's what got me into gynecology. It was really the patient education and really empowerment at that point
Yeah.
to know about our bodies so that we know how to take care of it and to make good decisions. I actually didn't see a baby being born until my nephew many, many, many years later when I was actually already in medical school. So I had decided, most people are like, oh, I want to deliver babies, but it was actually the gynecology and specifically the
Hmm.
education that made me want to go into OBGYN.
Absolutely. That's really cool. So, how did you go from Trinidad to the United States? What was that journey like?
Yeah, so I have two older sisters. They are very much older than I am, so 7 and 9 years older. And they
Hmm.
went to the US. So I was like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And I was just following in their footsteps. There was no other option. I applied to UE, which is the University of the West Indies in Trinidad,
Hmm.
just because, just to see if I could get in. But in my mind, I was always coming to the US. And there
Hmm.
are certain schools that have not relationships, but it was just easier for Caribbean people to go to. Fisk is one of them. And so you'll
Yes.
see they have like, like little pockets of many people from the same islands, and
Yes.
Howard was one of them, right? And they gave a lot of scholarships, so I had to go where the money resides. So my parents couldn't afford to send me any other way without a scholarship, so
Hmm.
that's how I ended up at Howard.
I love that. Okay, so tell me about your
Yeah.
Howard experience because you were in for undergrad and
Yep.
for med school, so you've gotten the
Yeah.
whole bison experience for
Yes.
you said the 6 years because you did the
6 years.
BSMD program. So yeah, tell me about
Yeah.
undergrad and med school for you there.
Yeah, best 6 years of my life, man. It was great. And I think because of the strong international community, it
Hmm.
took away some of the cultural shock that anybody experiences when they go to a new country, especially so young. I mean, I was
Yeah.
18, but that's still young. And I just felt at home. It was a lot of fun, and it was Howard is the reason that I'm a physician. Like it wasn't happening. I don't know how I would have been able to afford it, and I only applied for the BSMD program once I got there because I didn't
Hmm.
even know that it existed. But just the
Hmm.
fact that they have the program and the way that it's structured, I was able to use my undergrad scholarship, which was a full ride, to pay for most of medical school. So Howard is the reason I don't have any loans and
Wow.
that I am here. I will forever be grateful. There is no Dr. Toya without Howard, which is why I rep it so fiercely.
Yes.
And you can't tell me anything about Howard. But yeah, and then the medical school experience was also one of a kind. It was just so much fun. It was the the quality of the education was so high, and I only realized once I got out that I was very, very well educated and that not everybody else was, even though they have the names and the Ivy League and all of those things, is that black excellence is just not there in other places. And so many big names came out of that system. There's the expectations are just so much higher from there, and it
Hmm.
was also still a very fun experience. So I don't have the words to describe how those 6 years went, except I would do it all over again right now. It
I
was
love
great.
it. I
Yeah.
love it. And honestly, of course, we've been kind of teasing each other back and forth about Howard versus Fisk and who's got the top HBCU. But the best
Yeah.
thing that I've always loved about being an HBCU graduate is that it doesn't really matter what institution you went to. We all have that thread line of Black excellence and
Yeah.
having, you know, the shoulders of great giants to stand on, whether
Yeah.
that's, of course, the medical research and all of the research from the law, from business, from all different kinds of things, from medicine at Howard to the civil rights of Fisk and things like that as well, too. Even when you set foot on Howard's campus, you can feel that there is something sacred and hallowed about those grounds that are there from all of the leaders that have educated themselves there, been there for all those years. So I totally understand and respect. I've never been to a Howard homecoming, but I know they're legendary, not even
Yeah.
legendary,
Right.
legendary. So that's
Yes.
amazing. Did you get a chance to actually do anything fun or participate with anything on campus? Because I know your schedule was packed being in the BSMD, but
Yeah, and that's why I think my experience was so unique because I still enjoyed my undergrad experience. I even enjoyed my medical school experience because we had events like the smoker, like but I don't know, it's probably not PC anymore, but we had like a date auction first year of
I'm used to
of
that. We
medical
had plenty
school.
of auctions. Yep, yep.
Yeah. But I will never forget this girl, what is her name? I can't remember her name. But I was like, "Oh, are you going to date auction?" She was like, "No, slavery." And that was the first time I even thought about it. I'm like, "Yes, we are auctioning off black humans. That's probably not a good look." But I didn't think about it that way.
I literally didn't think about that until just now because it was
Yeah,
just fun. It's like how you
exactly.
who was attractive on campus, who you want to meet,
Yeah,
who's like, okay, this is the new guy, this is the new girl.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my reaction too. I was like, "Oh, okay," because at then that time I was not as woke as I am now. Even though I was at Howard, because I was still
Hmm.
very much that Caribbean person that had the same ideas that many non-American black people have,
Hmm.
and just like everything's great, life is fine, there are no issues anywhere. So when she said it, I remember being like, well, okay. But no, I mean, there was some validity to that.
Yeah.
But all that to say, I had a lot of fun at Howard.
Well, that's really dope. Okay, so tell me about like it seemed like you just had your mind focused on
Hmm.
OBGYN. You
Yep.
knew that that's what you were going to do. So tell me about your residency experience. What was it like kind of leaving the beautiful womb that is Howard University and going off into the real world of residency? I'm gonna say real world in quotation marks.
Right.
So,
Yes, that was the best and worst 4 years of my career.
hmm,
Mainly worst because I was, again, very well trained. Very, very well trained. I trained at Pennsylvania Hospital. It's the nation's first hospital, the busiest labor hospital in Philadelphia. So when I say I was well trained, I was well trained. But it was a traumatic experience for me that I had to work through even up until this year, and had a lot of coaching surrounding it and things like that. Got to one of my lowest points while I was in residency, and I call it my first burnout because I just felt like who I was as a person was under attack just for being me, and in a way that I would not have experienced at Howard because everybody was black, and it
yeah,
didn't matter that I had this particular personality because we have a whole range of personalities, but there's a whole range of us. So at training, it was very much angry black girl kind of vibes that I was getting,
hmm,
and also aided by the fact that we had a high amount of men in my program for OBGYN. So about half,
hmm,
we had three guys, two black women, and then one white woman. And that dynamic just made it even worse because there were a lot of things to compare me to.
hmm,
And the way that I dealt with stress at that time, it just made me more angry because I didn't have a good way of dealing with not knowing things. So I've always been very, very intelligent,
Hmm.
top of everything. So when I came to residency, obviously you don't know anything, right?
Hmm.
Intern year was very difficult in terms of, somebody would ask me something and I didn't know, and I would get angry at myself. But to them, I'm just angry. And the way that I expressed my anger wasn't loud, it wasn't shouting, it was I got very quiet and, into myself. And, they don't like that. So it was a very difficult experience just because it's residency, but then
Right.
also how I was perceived and
Hmm.
then how I was ultimately treated because nobody could ever complain about my work because there was nothing to complain about,
Right.
right? So you just had to attack everything else because that was all that was left. They wanted to attack something. So it got to a point where, I would be walking to the hospital because I lived a couple blocks away. And I was
Hmm.
just like, if a car would just clip me so that I
Hmm.
would not have to go in there. I don't want to die. I don't want to get seriously injured. I just want to be injured enough so that I do not have to go into that place. I will be okay.
Yeah.
And I felt like I had no other choice. I had to finish. I had birthdays ruined in that place, which all of that, when I left, made me decide I'm never going to be that unhappy again. So my birthday was always a big deal, but then it became a very big deal because of the experiences that I had there. I never
Hmm.
work on my birthday, never, ever, ever,
Hmm.
because of
Yeah.
that. I said when I left, I now have choices. I'm an attending, I have money. I am going to make sure that I am happy because I'm not doing that anymore.
I have a deep, heavy sigh because, um, audience listeners, what I don't think we've talked about enough on this podcast is the sheer amount of Black residents, especially Black women residents, that go through something, some level of this during their training. Whether they're othered, or they're just singled out because we're the only ones or one of a few and not understood and not given the same levels of respect. Honestly, that's really what it is, respect at the end of the day. Yes, we're all learners at the end of the day, but there's still a basic level of humanity and respect and understanding that should be afforded to us, just period. But it seems like in the medical education system, especially in residency training, they just love to take advantage of dehumanizing, and not understanding and just kind of forcing the medicine down your throat and just do the work and see the patients and, finish the charts and do all of the work of being a board eligible physician, of course.
Yeah.
So, I say all that to say is, Toya, thank you for sharing that as well too. Um, I I identified, unfortunately, so much with just what you said from just your own residency experience. I was the only little raisin in the oatmeal. I was the only Caribbean grad in my program, so I was definitely, I feel like, not understood, passed over for opportunities that it was
Hmm.
clear to everybody else in the hospital and in other programs that I should have, but for some reason I'm not chosen
Yeah.
over a white male counterpart, because emergency medicine is, of course, very white male dominated. My program was all white male staff,
Mm.
except for like two Black men. And that was it. We had no women attendings at all
Wow.
whatsoever. So thank you, like I said, for sharing that experience, because I don't think, for, I guess, the non physicians that are listening, that you guys understand. Like, yes, you hear the glitz and the glamour, and oh, yes, we're Doctor So and So at the end, and we have these paychecks at the end of the day. Like you said, when you finish, you're like, okay, and I'm attending, we can do what we want. But it's the psychological and mental and social and even spiritual breakdown that
Yeah.
happens to us. That's just like, it's very difficult for people to talk about. And I said, like, more specifically, this happens disproportionately to Black people. I'm in a big Facebook group that has over, I don't even know at this point, 17,000 doctors. So whether there's
Yeah.
physicians, podiatrists, things like that. And it seems like every other week there is someone posting anonymously saying, hey, I'm concerned I might be getting fired from my program. All of these racist things are happening to me, or just terrible things where they don't feel like they have any way out and they're considering getting an attorney, EEOC, things like that. Clearly, Dr. Toya, that's not your story. And I'm so grateful that it
Yeah.
never had to go to that extent. And I'm, like I said, I'm so grateful that you didn't get to the point where you wanted to end your life. But I definitely understand, like, I could just use a break. Like maybe if I was just
Yeah.
sick for maybe like a week or so, I could just
Yep.
recuperate and then maybe I could reset my mind and deal with y'all later. Um, yeah, I took my mental health days. I tried to take mental health days from the emergency department. My faculty wasn't having that. I took my my mental health days, my sick days when I was
Yeah.
off service rotations where I was just
Yeah.
like, well, I'm sick today. I can't come in. I'm sick of y'all. I
Right.
called in sick of y'all a lot. So,
I didn't even know that was an option back then. Like I started doing that as an attending, but only in my second job, not even in the first one. But
mhm.
I love that you felt empowered enough to do that in residency. I wish I had.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you made it out. Like I said, more specific, I'm glad you made it out, and clearly you're now thriving and
Yeah.
growing businesses and having new opportunities to help people. So that's just a beautiful thing, to see that you kind of just grew from the ashes like that. So
Yeah.
congratulations, hats off to you
Thank you.
and all of the support that you've had. I'm sure. Oh, what? Well, let me go back a little bit. You mentioned something. How did you kind of get out of this other than putting your nose to the grindstone while you were in training? What did you do to really kind of take care of yourself so that you could
In
graduate?
in residency, I just pushed through. Just
Hmm.
it's one of those things where I just did what I had to do, and I am happy that I never compromised myself. Like I was very consistent with how I was throughout, even though I was getting the negative feedback. I do think one person that actually got through to me to help me grow and give me support in the way that I needed was a black attending who also went to Howard. So I had connected with her before. She went to residency there as well, went off and got like triple board certified and something, and then came back as a faculty member. And she saw how much trouble I was having and how I was struggling. And she didn't try to tell me, be a little bit quieter or like nothing that was demoralizing in that way. But like I said, I didn't deal with the stress well. So there were definitely, and I think it's important to talk about, it was traumatic, yes. I was treated unfairly, yes. But there was definitely growth that could have been had, right? Like the way that I spoke to people and different things. But that's why I'm there to train and learn and grow. And she's the only person who actually sat me down and was like, well, this is what you could be doing, and didn't make me feel terrible. I was going to
Yeah.
curse. I don't know if I can curse on your podcast,
Oh,
but
absolutely, girl. Yeah, you can cuss. Mm-hmm.
yeah, I was like, she didn't make me feel like shit, So I changed in that way, and it wasn't even a change; it was growth.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I just continued doing what I was doing because at the end of the day, I knew what I was about, and somebody at the end actually sat me down and was like, no matter what happens, no matter what the scenario is, we know what we're going to get from you because you have been the same. Like, you're always there to do the work. And I was like, thank you. Thank you very much. And that was the validation that I needed because it was just like, you're doing all this hard work and not getting thanks for it. And all you get is negativity.
Right.
But nobody can say that my work was poor, my medicine was not good, and
Mm.
that they didn't know I wasn't put on any kind of show
Yeah.
just to get along and get by. It may have made my life harder, but it was in keeping with my values, and that I was happy with.
That's really good. And it's always, it seems like there's someone that is like the Bible says, a ram in the bush that comes through to support you at the end of the day. So I love that. I'm so glad that she was able to really
Yeah,
be a mentor and a guide, and sounds like in a lot of ways a coach to you as well
yeah,
too, to kind of help you to maneuver and learn from a
yeah.
personal standpoint. Because what I was going to ask you is, so had you really even had any other work experience? Because it sounded like you went pretty much straight through from the BS to the MD and then straight to residency. So did
Yeah.
you have any breaks or any other opportunities to kind of work or do anything in the professional world before you actually went into medicine?
No, in Trinidad, before I came to the States, I did like a little summer program where I was in an office. It was like a bank.
Hmm.
But that wasn't any real. It was like a couple weeks, nothing
Yeah.
real. So I had never been in any real corporate situation. I'd definitely never been anywhere in the United States. So no, that was my first experience dealing with people. And that's, people say if you go to Howard, you won't get a chance to know how to navigate in majority situations. And I'm like, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
It was okay. I was okay dealing with with all that when I did, and being able to say that the Howard experience was the best 6 years of my life. So it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I understand that 100%. Okay.
Yeah.
So you got out of there. You got the F out of there
Right.
and graduated. So tell me about attending life. When did you finish residency and tell me about life afterwards? Yeah.
I finished in 2015, and then I came out to California at that time. At the time, I was on a visa, so my job options were limited. And I had two offers, one that was on the East Coast, very close to where I trained, and then one out here in California, because those are the people that would sponsor my visa. And just my personality, I was just like, I'm just going to go to California. I have no ties to anywhere. It's an adventure. It's California. I'm just going to go. And actually, my program director was like, oh, how are you going to find a husband out there? It's like, thank you very much. That's none of your business. And
Yes,
I
it
came, and guess what? Found my husband. So there's that.
I mean, and
So
then
I
it's
came.
California. It's like the hugest state in the world. Like, well, not in the world, but almost like the big, no, because
Yeah.
it's Alaska, it's Texas, and then it's California. So, of course, like, there's so
He
many
had no
opportunities.
business. He had no business saying any of that. And
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, girl. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. That's to give you a taste of my experience. But I came, it was an FQHC. The schedule was great, the pay was great, but, well, the schedule wasn't great. It was fine. But I felt like I didn't have enough support to grow my surgical skills.
Hmm.
And I wanted more like mentorship there, because at that place we operated with people who just didn't have a whole lot of experience. And my experience level wasn't there where I can do a lot of laparoscopy without help, like without a physician help,
Hmm.
because they were used to a lot of open surgery or robotics, and I was doing straight stick laparoscopy. So I ended up leaving and going to another institution where physicians operated together. I know I could grow, because it's one of those things where I had the skills. I knew I was a good surgeon. I just needed to be able to grow in those skills, and I needed to be around people that could help me grow in that way. So
Hmm.
that's why I went to a big corporate medicine institution here in Northern California. And that's where I had my second burnout episode, where
Hmm.
it was just understaffed. The office was not managed well. It still isn't. And it was the office that really just got me down. And then the volume of work, we worked a lot there, and yeah, just being understaffed.
Hmm.
So it was being there that I don't even remember initially thinking I was burnt out. I was just surviving.
Hmm.
And then the pandemic happened. And like many people, I was like, I'm going to start a business, because life is
Hmm.
short and you never know. So I actually started a business then that had nothing to do with medicine or coaching. It was a directory for Black owned businesses and Black professionals who serve the Black community. It was called By
Okay.
Default. Yeah, everything there was Black by default. So the idea was, it was very clear that everything on this site is for you. Like, it's for
Hmm.
us. It wasn't just a side note. It wasn't for other people and they adapted it to us. It was for us. So I started growing that business. And because I knew I did not know what the hell I was doing, I decided to get help. So that was my introduction to coaching. So I
Okay.
joined a business coaching program,
Hmm.
the Entre MD Business School. And through the lessons about entrepreneurship and about my value as a physician, I realized I don't have to take this. Because when you're in those toxic situations, there's this thought that I have to stay here. The benefits are so good, the pay is so good. I
Right.
have to stay. How can I leave? And all of this stuff. And when you really know about your value as a physician, that MD or DO or MBBS, it is valuable and your skills are transferable. So, no, you don't have to stay. You can leave and do whatever you want. So, on the back end, I'm burning out.
Mm-hmm.
But here, I am like growing, learning all these things. And I always say it like accelerated my burnout, but it was really that it made me attuned to the fact that I don't need to take it.
Yeah.
So where I would have just pushed through, just like residency, I was like, I don't need to take this. So in the planning of my life, because by this time, met my husband, had one kid, was going to have the second, the plan was because I carried the benefits for the family at the time that I was going to have the second baby, go on maternity leave, and just never go back.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that point, I would have had like 6 months paid. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we can make it. I'm just push through and make it. So I'll get all my time. Like I said, the burnout was accelerating. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't think I can make it because I would have to try to get pregnant, have, have the pregnancy, then have the baby. And then, so this was like a 2 year plan. I was
Okay.
like, I don't know if I have 2 weeks in me.
Hmm.
So it was when I was going to buy my shares because I was getting voted in. Well, I got voted in as a shareholder.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to buy into the practice, even though it was a large medical corporation, it was still practice in that way. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, is this really what you want to do? And by that time, the thoughts started coming back. I was driving home from the office and I was like, if somebody would just rear end me. And I still remember I was on one of my business coaching calls and I told Dr. Una, like the head coach, I put up my hand and said that. And I was like, yeah, if somebody would just rear end me so I don't have to go back to that office.
Hmm.
And I was like, Latoya, you said this was not happening again.
Hmm.
So I made the decision with the support of my husband that I was just going to leave with no plan.
Hmm.
But it was because of that knowledge that I can do whatever I want because I am a physician, I am highly skilled, highly educated, and my degree means something.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be okay. So I quit. I gave like 2 weeks notice, maybe. Still don't remember, because there's no like notice where we are in
Okay.
California. And I took a month off completely, and then credentialed for locums for the next 3 months. So I had 4 months off, which
Mm-hmm.
was great, and then started doing locums and continued. The business had phased out by that time because I realized that it was a passion project and not actually anything that could make me money. So but it also sparked or re-sparked in me my love for education, which
Mm-hmm.
residency had beaten out of me. But it was the whole reason I got into medicine in the first place. So I started doing patient education online. I had a TikTok account where I did OBGYN stuff. I was getting more into speaking. I was working with the CMQCC, which is an organization that helps with maternal mortality in California and sets a lot of really national standards. So I was doing all of these things while running my locums company, like the business that it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like liberation, and I could never go back after that.
I
I
love
feel like
it.
you asked me a very specific question and I gave you a very long answer.
No, but you gave me everything else that I wanted to know, and there
Yeah.
as well too. So that's an incredible journey, yet again. And I find it so interesting how God, the universe, life circumstances will bring you back, kind of the same thoughts, same feelings, but the fact that you were able to recognize. And no, and now this is not going to be like I am not forced to be here in this
Yeah.
place. I am not strictly just Toya MD,
Right.
just OBGYN. I'm not just here just to educate patients and deliver babies for this system that is severely broken, but I have more to offer and more to give, even if you didn't have any inkling of like what you would be pivoting into. Like you still
Yeah.
believed in yourself enough that you're just like, this ain't it, and whatever I'm gonna figure out is gonna be much better
Exactly.
than the it that I'm in right now. So
That's exactly it. Yeah.
that's
So
so good.
then, yeah. So I in that time off, got pregnant. That was part of the plan.
Hmm.
And that's what changed everything and brought me to what I'm doing right now. So that pregnancy
Okay.
was very painful. My
Mm.
daughter was huge, and I actually had to stop working very early. But again, I was doing my own thing. So it's like, fine, I'm not going to take any shifts. It was great because if I was at work, I'd probably have to push through.
Hmm.
And the delivery was fine, nothing traumatic there, but postpartum.
Hmm.
Lord of mercy. So that was even more painful than the actual pregnancy because I had a lot of SI joint dysfunction, a lot of hip
Mm.
pain, coccyx pain, tailbone pain. Breastfeeding was excruciating. So
Mm.
that was the physical pain. And then mentally, I was not doing well because I just felt like the support that I had, even though they were physically here, they were not taking care of me in the way that I felt like I should have been taken care of. So I
Hmm.
felt very angry and resentful. And
Hmm.
later on, realized that I was having a lot of depression and anxiety at that time.
Hmm.
And with all of that, I was also pushing myself to continue to do all of these new things that I now found that I loved. I wasn't doing locums work, but I was still creating for TikTok. I was still volunteering. I was still speaking.
Hmm.
Even 6 weeks postpartum, I went to an in-person speaking event. Why? Why was I doing that? Right?
Hmm.
So it's like I had all of these expectations about now that I'm in full control of my life, I can do all these things because I'm amazing and other people have done it, so I'm going to do it too. And
Yeah.
it all led to my third burnout situation where
Yeah.
I was just like, I can't take this anymore. We had a trip planned for my birthday because, like I said, it's a big deal. And my daughter would have been 3 months at the time of the trip. It was supposed to be a big family trip. And I told my husband, I'm going to go by myself. Y'all stay here. I'm out. Like, I need a break from all of y'all.
Hmm.
And he was like, what? No,
Hmm.
that's not happening. We are going to work it out. So my sister came to be with my mom, who was here at the time. He and I went alone without the kids and
Hmm.
just kind of healed our marriage, started working towards, really listening to each other.
Yeah.
And I also had to realize that I needed to drop all of this other stuff that I was doing that was just not important because I was not taking care of my body, I was not taking care of my mind. And it was through my healing journey from that I, ever the physician, ever the teacher, I was like, I want other physician moms to not have to go through this. And that's how Dr. Toya Coaching was born. It started off as a way to support postpartum moms in a way
Hmm.
that was more holistic and in a way that I felt like OBGYNs missed the mark, not
Hmm.
personally, but as a institution that I was a part of,
Hmm.
really focusing on mental health, especially because I just felt like that was the part where I had the least amount of resources. Like I tried to treat myself, I tried to do all this stuff, and I was like, there must be a better way. So initially, it was supposed to be a group medical program, and through indirect coaching that I didn't expect to need or get, I realized that what I wanted to do really was coaching, and there was no reason to make it medical. I think that was a
Hmm.
little bit of the vestiges of, oh, I'm a doctor and I could only do doctoring.
Hmm.
That was when the last of it left me.
Hmm.
And I realized that I was maybe holding on because of fear
Yeah.
that it had to be this medical thing because that's all I know how to do,
Hmm.
and then launch into something that in practice I had experience with because I truly believe any good physician coaches their patients every single day, right?
Right.
But, I had had nothing formal at the time. So I had to take a leap and say, okay, I this is where my heart is. I have a lot of experience over a decade at this point of doing this and taking care of women in this phase, and all of my personal experiences are now I'm going to be able to use as a skill. And I had seen a lot of training programs because the way that I came into coaching was through my business coaching program. I didn't
Right.
know much about life coaching and stuff like that. And I just felt like it was not for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew I would need something to be able to serve my clients at the highest level, but I didn't know what exactly that something was until I was in a mini like mastermind, let's say, and I
Mm-hmm.
experienced another coach coaching somebody else, and she
Mm-hmm.
was phenomenal, absolutely amazing. And I was like, I want to be just like you.
Hmm.
And I reached out to her, come to find out she had a coaching training program back in the day that she no longer did. I was like, train me, please. And it's been a year since we've been working together. So, the level, like the acceleration in my growth as a coach and as a coaching business owner it's just like astronomical because of her. And that's just what coaching does in general. It's just like, it just makes everything so much faster and easier.
Mm-hmm.
So it is, and it is through the coaching school that I was in already and coaching with her that I was able to very seamlessly evolve the program from this group medical program
Mm-hmm.
that was very specifically for postpartum and the extended postpartum. So 12 weeks and beyond, so the full first year, to being for physician moms in the early years of motherhood, because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the issues that you may have in that postpartum period, they persist. And it's really like a foundational time. So if you start setting your boundaries now, if you start setting up systems so you're not overwhelmed now, your motherhood journey is going to be so much easier and better and more joyful later on. So that's why I focus in these really high touch years, like the first 5, 6 years of life. And that's where I am now. And every single moment before I started coaching has enabled me to serve my clients at the highest level because I've had so many different experiences and can relate to them so deeply. So that's how
I
I got here.
Girl, like I said, I love it. I love it all. Because you articulate so clearly. I believe my passion for coaching as well too. It for one, yes, as a business, let me be clear, as a business coach, business
Right.
wise, this is lucrative. This is something that you can
Right.
definitely grow. It can match our physician salary, but from an internal personal standpoint, it is so rewarding to be able to give back to others in that way and to literally see the growth and the transformation of people, that it doesn't have to do with us being sitting in a white coat, them
Right.
being, on the stretcher, talking to us about a health problem, but we are able to transform and help people transform their own lives,
Yeah.
with just the work that we do. Um, so I'm so glad that you were able to pivot and really to, like I said, build something that is really, sounds extraordinarily based on your life, your experience,
Yeah.
your story, your personal background, and all of the amazing, of course, over 10 years of experience, even as an OBGYN, that you brought to the table, as well as just being a physician mom yourself. I love that. I absolutely love it. Here's where I think a lot of doctors potentially will get stuck is like, tell me a little bit more about how you were feeling and the thoughts that you had when you were about to leave the kind of the medical model
Mm-hmm.
behind and go straight into coaching. It sounds like there may have been a little bit of imposter syndrome, like, well, this is all I know. I'm just a
Yeah.
doctor. So tell me how
Yeah.
you kind of got out of that and were able to still launch the business.
That's a good question. So it's a combination of things, and part of it is personality because I am a massive action taker. I always have been. And
Hmm.
before it looked like I want to go to South Africa. I'm gonna go, and then I just went. So before it was just like that.
You sound like me.
So so there's a little bit of that. And at this point, remember, even though I had not been in the life coaching realm, I had been coaching. So
Hmm.
I had already had a lot of personal development that another physician who is going straight clinical into something else may not have
Hmm.
had. So I had a like over a year at this point. Yeah, that would have been over a year of mindset changes and growth that happened. So it was not as hard. It wasn't as big of a leap as, say, somebody else who had not been coached, but it was still there.
Yeah.
And another part of what I think made it easier for me to make the transition is because I'm very attuned to the fact that everything happens for a reason, that the universe has my back. I am Christian, but that's a whole other different story. But, God is guiding me. I listen to the Holy Spirit when it talks to me, like whatever, at whatever stage in my life, it has always been something like that. And the amount of resistance that came when I tried to make this a medical program, I was like, something is not right. And I feel like that is important for anybody doing anything. Things can be hard, but there's a level of resistance that comes when something is not right, not right
Yes.
for you, that we often just ignore for whatever reason. And I have learned, and it's taken a lot of lessons to learn that I need to listen to that. And I at least need to take a step back and reevaluate and see, is this that I'm not supposed to be doing this thing? Or is it that I have some growth to do? And in this situation, it was that I did not need to be doing that thing. And I was very fortunate to be in the container that I was in, because it was actually a colleague who was in the school with me, who was the one that coached me. It wasn't
Yeah.
even my coach. She pushed me, actually having never met me before, but she was a coach, but I didn't know at the time. And I told her about the program, and she was like, this sounds like coaching. Why does it need to be medical? And she pushed and pushed, not in a bad way, I didn't feel attacked or anything, but I was challenged enough in a way that it was always the voice in the back of my head when I came up to resistance, and I had to be like, okay, maybe she's right. Maybe let me reevaluate this thing. And then now that I'm going to go into this new thing, how am I going to get the support that I need to make this
Yeah.
process as seamless and easy as possible? Because I'm all about delegation and who, not how. So it's like, who is going to help me get to where I need to go? I'm not going to figure this out. Not that I
Right.
can't, but I just don't want to.
Right, which is the biggest thing that I've learned as well too, as a business owner as well too. Like we cannot wear all the hats. We cannot wear the cape, the hat, the
Nope.
shoes. We can't do it all. We got to pick and choose what we gonna wear and just roll with that from time to time.
Exactly.
I love that. So it was literally another peer in the coaching container that you were in that was like, no, I see this, and that helped you to develop the idea. Okay, so tell me about your first launch of your coaching. Tell me everything. The name, like how
Yes.
you
Oh, I
launched
just
it. Tell
realized
me
I didn't
about
actually say the name. Yeah, so initially it was called Beyond the Fourth Trimester because at the time I felt like everybody was focused on the fourth trimester, which it should be, it's important. But postpartum lasts for a year. The changes that come after you have a baby don't just magically go away at 3 months. You don't magically bounce back and everything is fine, even though people expect that. And it leaves women feeling less than when 6, 9, 12 months later, they are still recovering either mentally or physically from this pregnancy. So I wanted to normalize this extension of the postpartum period and really give women the support that they needed. So that's why it was called Beyond the Fourth Trimester. And it was still supposed to be a group, but with many new launches, one person signed up. And my business coach was like, well, just do one-on-one coaching. So that was
absolutely.
another thing. I was like, what? No, it's supposed to be a group, all of these things. But by this
Mm-hmm.
point, I knew to just trust her. So just started doing one-on-one coaching. And her child was actually 18 months. And that was part of the evolution for me to realize then it needs to be really beyond even a year because her issues were exactly the same. Like
Mm,
I was speaking directly to her and her child was much older. So I was just like, yeah, let's do this. And because I had had the coaching mentor at the time, she really helped me get more clients, get testimonials, like do all of the things to grow my confidence and my skills as a coach and
mm,
also, grow my business. So it was in coaching that very first client that I grew and then
mhm.
also having the mentorship as well. And that one client is still with me a year later. And that to me is just like the ultimate, testimonials. Just like she actually told me recently, she's like, I'm never going to leave. And, it's just, it just makes me feel so good because I have seen her journey over that year
Mhm.
and the growth and the transformation, not just for her, but for her family. And it's one of those things where when you are a physician and you think about you're impacting this one patient's life, as a coach, for me, I am impacting this person's family, the generations, the relationship she has with her daughter, with her husband, any future children they may have. It may sound hyperbolic, but it is true. And it's been an amazing thing to be a part of.
Hmm.
And there's so many things that have developed since then, but I don't even know if she knows that I credit her so much for how the my offering has changed. My other clients are great too, if anybody's listening. Everybody is, but that one, that first one really
Hmm.
kind of changed things and helped me grow in a way that nobody else had at that point.
Yeah, I love that. I 100% agree. We hear about, oh, starting a business, and everybody's talking about six figures, seven figures, even
Right.
eight figures, and it's just like,
Yeah.
okay, like, well, where do I start? And it really
Yeah.
does start with the one, and focusing, and that's what I teach my clients, is to just start with your very first
Yeah.
one and allow your business and allow your offer to grow from there. So I love that you have been able to see that transformation, not
Yeah.
just in her, but in your business, with, just like I said, just taking, like I said, not the L, but just the disappointment, and saying,
Yeah.
okay, it was supposed to be a
It was a little
group,
bit of
but
an L. It was
yeah, it's supposed to be a group,
it was an
but
L. Let's be real.
okay, it was an L, but I say an L is in not
Yeah.
a fail or a loss,
Right.
but literally a lesson, because of the
Exactly.
way it was being able to develop your
Yeah.
business. I was gonna say, tell me a little bit more about some of the specific wins that she's been able to have with working with you.
Yeah, so the biggest one is in, well, not the biggest. One of the biggest is in her marriage, because we had very similar stories in that the level of resentment was quite high for her husband, and now they are growing and thriving in a way that I feel like is really unimaginable. And she even is just like, I can't even imagine like the person that I was before. They now are considering having a second kid, where that was like absolutely not, that is not happening. Her confidence level at work, because she's a surgical subspecialist. So, that male dominated environment, and the feeling of less than, especially when you've had a baby, and just needing to pour so much into the job so that you can prove yourself and be like, yes, this baby didn't hold me down. And I feel like she has more boundaries now than she had even before she had her kid. So it's just there's so many after a whole year, but it's like she's a completely different person, and it's all growth. Like, I don't like the word change,
Hmm.
but she's definitely grown. And like many people, once you start that growth, it's hard to stop, right? You just want more.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That is incredible. So now clearly you have more clients, and
Yes.
you are you still working with one on one? But how do you? I guess
Yeah.
the question really is how do you work with clients right
Yeah.
now? Yeah.
So right now, I still, at the time of this recording, I still do one-on-one, and
Hmm.
it's another one of those things where I would have never thought I would enjoy one-on-one so much. So I don't think I'll ever not do one-on-one coaching. But drum roll, please. I am going to launch a group. I am
Yay!
going to launch a group, going back to my roots. And it wouldn't have been this group, it wouldn't have been this good if it wasn't for the quote unquote L, right? It wasn't for all of those things that I have learned and my own growth. So I'm very happy that it's coming at this time.
Hmm.
And at the time of this recording, it is not a few short weeks after the election.
Yeah.
So I had the idea for the group before the election,
Hmm.
and when I think about it, and I'm like, do I reveal the name? It's so sacred to my heart, but I'm going to say it. So the name that came to me while I was getting my massage, because I'm very focused on my self-care,
Hmm.
with a vengeance, I protect it. I was getting a massage, and it came to me, the Connected Motherhood Experience. And I was
Mm.
just like, that's what I want for my clients, to have the connection, to have the village, to have the group while we learn how to thrive in medicine and motherhood. And when everything happened with the results of the election, I was like, who do I really want to connect with? And who are my other clients going to want to connect with, the ones that look like me? Because I have clients that look all sorts of, from all sorts of different backgrounds. And I knew I needed a safe space for other Black physician moms.
Yeah.
And this was it. So when I think about the Connected Motherhood Experience, which if you haven't gotten, also is CME, like if you abbreviate it, which I was like, oh, that's
Nice.
cool.
Okay. Okay. I love it.
Exactly. So see, that's why y'all should get massages. This is a little plug for self-care. The things come to you when you are relaxed and rested. This is one of
Mhm.
my tenets of my coaching. But anyway, I digress. So, when I think about that safe space to just be, and it really spoke to me because it brought back in my work with By Default. Like
Mhm.
all of my other experiences determine the type of coach that I am right now. By Default never really fit into it, except because I learned lessons as an entrepreneur. But with
Mhm.
this piece, it just fit. It's just exactly what I wanted from the directory, a place where you come and you are immediately understood. Not that
Mhm.
we're all the same, but there's this baseline level of understanding where you can just be and focus on all of the other things that we need as physician moms to thrive and grow, and to not be overwhelmed and resentful and afraid to ask for help and all of the other things. You can
Mhm.
come on with your bonnet and just be like, yeah, I could turn my camera on, because everybody else, nobody cares.
Right.
Right.
Right. And
So
understands, it sounds like.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that is what is in my heart for 2025. And I will, like I said, I love one-on-one coaching, and the way that I do it is very high touch. So it's
Mhm.
not just the weekly sessions, it's messaging access, it's continued support in that way. So I really, I'm just going to continue doing that as well. But yeah, that's what I have in store.
CME, the Connected Motherhood Experience, coming
Yeah.
in 2025. No, that's so real. And again, of course, we were chatting before we started hitting the record button, but um, every Black woman that I have spoken to since the election has given me some level of doubling down on us, pouring into
Hmm.
ourselves, like individually, and each other, meaning other Black women, whether that is new offerings, like it sounds like you have created
Hmm.
now. Actually, it was not a new creation. It's actually going
Yeah.
back to your roots, like you said.
Yeah.
But right now, more than ever, and I actually did a live about that because the day after the election results, I felt very, very numb. But I am so blessed to be in a mastermind with other Black women physician
Hmm.
entrepreneurs, and we were able to literally come on, cry, um, be raw, be real with each other. We didn't feel like we had to have our normal mastermind call. It just so happened to be that day. But
Yeah.
we really just poured into each other and poured into ourselves. And I am so glad to be in community and spaces like that. So to be able now, Toya, of course, for you to afford that level of connection and experience for physician moms, Black physician moms, because oh my God,
Mm.
at the time of this recording, every single day that we wake up, there is a new announced expected appointment that is even more
Yeah.
disappointing than the next, from the Department of Education, from
Yep.
the HHS, from the Attorney General. Like, there's nothing that has been, from my standpoint, and I'm assuming yours
Yeah.
too, Toya, that has been a silver lining to
Right.
what has happened in this country. And of course, you being an OBGYN, Roe versus Wade, abortion
Yep.
rights being rolled back from states, and patients having to, time themselves and try to like go and travel to different. This
Yeah.
place is not safe for women. This place is not
Right.
safe for Black women, clearly.
Yeah.
And so, saying all that to say, not to just dump my political thoughts on my own my own podcast, but to really just
Yeah.
say that I am proud of being in connection and community with other Black women that are just like, you know what? Fuck it. We didn't try to save y'all for all these years. We about to save our damn selves. And
That's
I
right.
know that this connected motherhood experience is going to be so powerful for everybody that even encounters the name of it.
Yeah.
And I know it's going to be even more transformational for the people that you work with inside. So I'm excited to for you to launch this, for it to be for anyone to be a part of that as well too. So like I said, at the time of this recording, it is not officially launched,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
how can we find out about when this is
Yeah.
going to come about, when it's ready?
Yeah, everything starts on my website. So it's drtoyacoaching.com. So it's DRTOYA coaching.com. And you can find information about my one-on-one coaching, schedule a free coaching session there, the Connected Motherhood Experience. And then I also have lots of resources about hiring nannies and au pairs, just because the help is how you get the space and time and energy to have all of these wonderful ideas, to be able to decide if you want to thrive in medicine and go up the corporate ladder or leave and start a coaching business. You need to have the actual time, and outsourcing is how you do it. So I have a lot of resources to help physician moms, get that help, the help that they deserve. So you can check those out as well. Another thing that we didn't quite get to, because we've been talking for a long time, is I also have a passion for asking and negotiating. So I have an offering about my special spin on asking using desire. So that resource is there as well. And you can follow me on social media, Dr. Toya Coaching. And my Facebook name is my entire name, Toya Luces-Sampson. And yeah, everything is there and all surrounded helping physician moms just have an easier life. And that's another thing that I just found it was so synergistic, is because we as Black women, everybody's like, oh, focusing on ourselves now, we're not doing anything else. I was like, yes, thank you. Let's all do that, because that has been how I have been able to survive my postpartum experience.
Yeah.
And, one of the central teachings of my coaching is that you have to take care of yourself. You are the
Absolutely.
main character of your show, of your life, and it cannot be any other way. So, yeah, that's
Absolutely.
everything.
Absolutely. And if you guys didn't catch any of that, that's okay. It's everything that she just said is going to be linked in the show notes
Yeah.
below. Dr. Toya, I have tremendously enjoyed this conversation. Before we go, though, is there any other things that you want to share with the Docs Get Money podcast audience? If there's another physician mom that's feeling restless and maybe they want to start something new, what advice do you have to that listener, to that physician mom out there?
Yeah. It's to, before you try to figure out what you want to do, how you're going to get out of medicine, how you're going to get more money, anything, is to take a beat and connect with what you actually want. Connect with your inner desire. And to be able to do that, you can have input from your phone, from friends, from husband. It is all about you. What do you actually want in this life, in this moment, and moving forward? And thinking about why you want it and connecting to it deeply is going to help everything else, your path forward, reveal itself to you. You're not going to have to look. It's going to come to you, but you have to start with the connection first. So that is what I would say to anybody. And that's not just for moms. That's for anybody. You just have to connect with yourself and your values to know how to move forward.
I love it. Thank you, Dr. Toya Luces-Sampson, for gracing the Docs Get Money podcast with your presence. This has been an incredible interview. I've really, really enjoyed it. And so I'm hoping that each of the listeners get a chance to connect with you. But thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Docs Get Money podcast. New episodes drop every Thursday wherever you find your favorite podcast. Share, comment, follow, and subscribe to the Docs Get Money podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to know more, visit me, Dr. Kimberly Brown, at KimberlyBrownMD.com, and be sure to follow me at Dr. Kimberly B on Instagram. And until next time, Let's go get this money, honey.